So here are a few shapes that I've cut out from black card, some using punch, and others, because I'm lucky enough to have a Cricut machine, I've cut some out with those as well. But I would encourage you, if you haven't got one of those, really doesn't matter, use what you have, use what punches you have, and if you don't have any punches, you can still create some accurate shapes using strips cut to a particular width, whatever you decide, and then just cut 4, 5 or 6 of those for each item you want to make at the same length, and you'll get these lovely elongated shapes which will be beautiful for pendants and earrings. You can also make square shapes and have a diamond like this. Now when these are glued together, you can hear that they're really quite solid and they feel really substantial. These two here, I'm using 6 sheets, I think. Yeah, 6 sheets. And the earrings I'll make slightly thinner, maybe use 4 sheets for those. So the process is really very simple. Whatever shapes, in whatever way you cut them out, you need several exactly the same. This butterfly here was a Cricut one. These were cut out using a paper trimmer, and these were cut out using my circle punch. I have got a heart punch somewhere and I wanted to make one out of those. Oh, there it is. And this is my heart punch. So to make these, I'll use the circle one because they're bigger, so it's easier for you to see what's going on. I'm just going to cut out 6 circles. Obviously, because they're made with a punch, they're all exactly the same size. I grab a couple of paper clips and open up my paper clip. If you've got wire cutters, go ahead and use those. And I'm going low tech throughout the video so as not to exclude anybody that doesn't have any particular equipment as far as possible. So you can either cut straight through there, use a pair of scissors that are a bit tatty, or you can make a little snip and then just bend the paper clip backwards and forwards until it snaps. So I'll put that to one side. Now you can go with either one at the top. That will be your little finding for your jump ring to go through. Or if you want to, you can add another one at the bottom for a dangle. You could even add several and have several dangles if you want to. I'm going to go with one for this one. And I'm going to get my tacky glue. I also used this glue on another one, and that works equally as well. I'll use my tacky glue for this one. Put my little paper clip to one side for a moment, and I'm going to glue. That came out a bit fast. I am going to get messy here because I want that glue to go right up to the edge. And then I'm going to glue another layer on the top and line those up and repeat that process. I use my middle finger for gluing. When I remember, I often don't remember, so that I've got these other fingers sort of relatively free of glue. And I'm going to stick another one on top. So that's 3 now. So I'm halfway through, and at this point I'm going to add my little finding. So I'll put on some glue first of all and spread this to the edges. Add a little more glue where I want the finding to be. Pop my half paper clip so it's just over the edge there, and then I can pop another piece on the top, line that up nicely and press this down because I want all these pieces to meet and secure this little finding firmly in place so it's not going anywhere. And now I can pop my last 2 layers on. Focusing in on this area with the paper clip so that I know that's going to be nice and secure. And what I can even do is pop a little clip there to keep that area nicely, to press that area nicely together. You may prefer to use a clothes pin or a clothes peg, which I do because they're a little bit softer. Pop that on there just for a minute, just to help those papers stick together at the top. So that's it. I'll leave that dry and show you this one. When this is dry, you can paint it. If you want to, you don't have to. You could run another little seam of glue along there if you felt it needed a little bit of extra protection to seal it. But I'll show you with this one. When it's dry, you can just give it a little coat of acrylic paint over the back and over the sides. And that's all I need to do there, because the front will be obviously covered with the image. Let's have a look at these earrings now. So the same process, I'm going to open up a paper clip. So I'll cut my paper clip. I know I can cut straight through with these scissors and I don't care about them. Get my glue nicely up to the edges, pop another layer on top, and again another layer. 4 layers on this one to make them a little bit thinner, and see how that works out. So I've got 2 layers here. I was about to put my third on, but instead I'm going to pop my little finding in the middle, and I want to do them in the middle of however many sheets I decide to stick together, to hide the bulk as much as possible of the paper clip, which it does absolutely fine. And I'll just make sure I've got enough glue on these edges. Doesn't matter if it overspills, because we'll just wipe it onto the edges anyway and use it to seal those edges. Allow that to grab nicely. So that's 1 piece done, and that's 4 pieces of card used there. So I'll set that one to the side and make another one. Now you'll see that I'm using new paper clips each time for this one, even though I do have these other sides, and I will keep those and I will use those, but they're just slightly larger, and I want the smaller section of the paper clip for these little ones in particular. And you want to check here that your paper clips are sticking out at the same length. So I'll just push that one in just slightly. Give that one the benefit of the bulldog clip, and I'm going to go and wipe off this excess glue here. There we are, that's looking good. And I've got a pendant to make in the same style, but I think because it's bigger, I'm going to go with the 6 pieces for this one to make it just a little bit thicker. So pop that on and leave my necklace to dry. That's going to be a really nice set. Either, because I want to put a chain either side of the butterfly's wings like this, I can either go in with a smaller side of the paper clip, obviously, and I can put some little paper clip findings there somehow, but I'm not going to do that with this one. I'm just going to glue it together, and then later I'm going to come in with a pointy tool and make a hole in so I can attach a little jump ring, and then I'll attach my chain to that. So I just need to glue this one together. So that's my butterfly glued together. For this one, I'm experimenting with 4. You can have a look on the side, see how thick it is, see how thick you want it to be. And with this one, I think I'll just leave that there. They do obviously get thicker by the time you put the glossy accents over the top. This one was 6 layers thick, and it's had no problem. I've had no problem getting the pokey tool through, so don't be put off by the thickness if you want to use this technique. I'm just going to trim this down perfectly to these edges. I'll pop my piece on, make a little pencil mark. You can do that on the back, obviously. Make a pencil mark, and the same again. Let's give you your 2 earring fronts, and these are the 2 fronts for my earrings. And just when you get these little pieces of paper, these little gorgeous little scraps that you will no doubt have lots of, and you trim them down, they become something completely different. They become really, really beautiful. Now you can see that mine is a little shy there on the top and the bottom. I really don't mind. It's all part of the effect of the design. And I'm going to ink up my edges because I love that as a look, and it gets rid of that white raw edge of paper as well. But you'll see when I place this down how that just blends everything beautifully together. I like that with the black border at the top and the bottom. So even though these are still drying, you can either go ahead and stick your fronts on now, or you can let them dry and come back and do it again, because you may wish to paint over all of this. I'm not going to for the sake of the video. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just run some glue along these edges and maybe over the back as well to seal it. All sorts of different ways to get to the same end results. I'll let them dry. I love those. I've been looking forward to making these for a while, and there they are. Now I've got my pendant to make. These are pieces that I've got left over from making the nail file sets. So if you've got that kit, you've also got all of these pieces as well. Look at that as a set. By the time we've got the glossy accents or the Mod Podge Dimensional Magic or whatever product you want to use on top of there, it's going to look fantastic. Right, I can go ahead, take my paper clip and my bulldog clip off that piece, and I think I'll just pop it on here and let that top bit settle. There, that's looking fabulous. Oh, this is a piece of a kit that I was working on a while ago, and this is one of my test prints, and this butterfly, as it so happens, is just perfect. Have a look through your stash, you'll find all sorts of things. You can fussy cut and stick on the top as well, and add other little bits and bobs of embellishment if you want. You can take this in so many different directions. I don't have many paper punches. I don't use them that often. If you've got a butterfly paper punch, I envy you, because I think this one is going to look fabulous. Like I say, I cut mine out with the Cricut machine, which is fab. It's a wonderful thing. But I want to be able to choose which piece of scrap I use. Oh, now then, when you're doing this, be careful you haven't got glue on your fingers when you're squidging down this front piece. I wasn't paying attention there, and I've got some glue on there now, which could lift off some of that pattern, and I don't want that to happen. But there we are, I've got away with that just. That's going to look great. So put that to one side and tackle this butterfly now. And I'm going to have to draw around this and fussy cut it. I don't enjoy fussy cutting, I won't lie. Oh, here's some from the tea bag folio kit. So if you've got that, you'll have all these bits of paper as well. So I'm going to have to draw around this butterfly. And here's my butterfly to go on the top. How well have I done? Not bad, not bad at all for somebody who has got a fussy cutted version. And that's why I've got the Cricut machine. Oh, I love this brown with blue. I think it looks great. And a butterfly with flowers on. What's not to love there? I think that's really pretty. So pop that on. Now, remembering this time not to get any glue on the front face of this little bit of printable. If I get any glue on, I'm going to wipe that off straight away so that I don't pull any of this printing off the top. So I'll set this down to dry. I've got Tim Holtz Ranger's Glossy Accents. Mod Podge also do a version which I think is called Dimensional Magic. And this stuff, if you haven't come across it before, gives you this lovely raised, domed, resin type finish on the top. And the way you want to deal with this liquid, it's important not to get any air bubbles in. You can get them out if you do get them in, but it's better not to get them in the first place. You can either do a great big thick layer over the top and it holds its shape quite well, or you can do a thinner layer. So tip your bottle upside down. Don't shake it because you don't want to encourage the air bubbles. The air bubbles. Give it a little squeeze when it's reached the bottom. Get rid of the first little bit because you don't want an air bubble in the beginning, and then keeping that pressure on the squeeze, you just want to begin laying down nice and gently this product, and it will come out kind of milky. And you want a combination of squeezing and not squeezing. You always want to have the product in the tip of the nib, and just squeeze and squeeze less as you can see the product going down. If you haven't used it before, it'll take you a couple of goes to get a technique down, but once you have, you've got it. And then just go right up to the edges. You can have a look and just check by moving your eyes to the side that you've got it all covered. I have got it all covered there, so we'll leave that one alone. To get a thinner layer, again, I've let go of the squeeze, so I'll just squeeze it a little bit, get rid of that first bit. Just have a look in the nozzle to see if there are any air bubbles, which there aren't. You just squeeze less, put the product on, and then rather than keep squeezing, you just release the pressure a little bit on that squeeze, and you can just spread the product about nice and gently with the nozzle itself, and you can get a thinner layer on the go there. So I would leave that at that if I wanted a thinner layer, but I do want a little bit more because I like that dimensional kind of domed resin look, and I love the way it looks on square shapes when they're finished. And just keep going over that until you're happy. Once you've done, leave it alone. Don't be tempted to go back an hour or so into the drying time and fix stuff, because you're going to be disappointed. So just give it a good check over, check that you're happy. Let's do this other earring. Again, squeeze, get rid of the first little bit, and then put this on. Keeping some nice gentle pressure on the bottle. You don't have to keep that pressure up. When you can see that you've got enough product on there, you can just start spreading it around with your nozzle. Put a little bit more on. While it's wet, you can go back in. If you think that you're not happy with it, don't worry about it. Leave it alone, let it dry overnight, and come back to it the next day and you can give it another coat. And here's my butterfly. You can see some of it is about me squeezing the product on. There's some of it is about me sort of colouring in and spreading that about a little bit. And you'll see as you go if you get any air bubbles in there. If you get any air bubbles, deal with them straight away. I've got a few air bubbles here because I've been working quite fast. You need to go nice and slowly and take your time. It's very cathartic. I don't think I have got any air bubbles in there actually. So there's my butterfly done. It only takes a minute, and oh my gosh, is it a beautiful effect. You may already have used this stuff on your creative journeys. If you're new to it, it's fabulous. I think I got this for about £5 from Amazon. There was a bit of an offer on, so it's quite a good deal, and I'm having so much fun with it. I'm loving making this jewellery. I never want to stop, to be honest. And it's surprising how much you can get on there because it holds its shape really well. I did have one the other day that I put too much on and it dripped over the edge, but that was okay. I was just able to wipe it off with my finger and the situation was fantastic. So there we are, they're done, and you will notice that I've done them on a piece of cardboard, and my reason for that is because I don't have to touch them and fiddle about and risk upsetting that setting product. I can just put them all to one side and let them dry. Now here's one that I made earlier. Because I put a much thinner layer on, I just put some of the product on, just a little bit, and then I just spread it about with the nozzle, and I quite like the way that's looked. It hasn't got the raised look of the other pieces, but it's dried much quicker. So what I want to go ahead and demo here is just sealing. I haven't squeezed out my end. I've got an air bubble there, but not to worry, that's fine. I'm just going to go around the edge now with this, and I'm going to seal this edge. These things won't ever be like properly waterproof. I wouldn't like to wear them in the bath because they are composited paper at the end of the day. But this is going to really help, and it will disguise any sort of unevenness that you've got. So what we have here now is a shape I'm unable to put down. So thinking logically about this, let's find something to put it down on. There. So here's my bits and pieces complete and dry and feeling very, very solid. The butterfly that was 3 pieces is still got a little bit of flex in it. That's absolutely fine. It's like a piece of tooled leather, but I'm happy with that. I'm happy with all of them actually. I think they look great. So there's one here that I didn't show you, and this has got a different type of fastening that I'm going to put some cord through, maybe even a couple of pieces of cord. I love that chunky kind of look, and the way I've done that is simply to get a strip of paper, wrap it around something round like a piece of dowel. I'm using a crochet hook, wrap it round, get it used to being folded in that direction like that, wrap it up a little bit, make sure you're keeping these edges in line. That's perfect. And then unwrap it again. Start to wrap it, and as you wrap it, just put a little seam of glue here and then keep rolling it, and the glue will squidge down this way. When it stops squidging, put a little bit more glue on, just so you've got the thickness that you think you might want on the side here. Then you take that off, fasten it with a clothespin to keep it secure while it's gluing. Use a clothespin for this because a bulldog clip is a bit too strong. And then just trim off here, or to whatever shape you might need it to be, and then that slots in the center of your layers like that. And then when that's in place, you can then go over, put a bit of glossy accent on that, or paint it to seal it. So that's that one. Now I'm going to get all these bits and pieces out of the way in a moment once I've talked you through them. I've got some jump rings, I've got some bits and pieces of broken jewellery and beads and stuff like that that's been left over from other projects. I've got some chain with some little lobster clasps. I've got some crimp ends for this faux suede. So good for your vegetarians and your vegans there. That's not a problem, and it's nice and strong. That's 3mm by 1.5mm, that one, I think. I've got a pointy tool. I've got a jump ring opening tool, optional. I've got some bits and pieces like these eye pins. I've got a pair of little pliers, and I've got some round nose jewellery pliers as well. You may well find, if you make dangles and things for your junk journals, or you're creatively minded, you've got all sorts of bits and bobs in your stash that you can use and adapt. I'll get all of these bits and pieces out of the way because I want to begin with this butterfly. I've got this little blue glass here, and I'm going to make a dangle to go down here, and I'm going to put a chain either side of the wing. So I'm going to start by making a hole with my pointy tool, and you can go right the way through. Try and get it in the same place on each side, and turn it over and go back through the other side and wiggle that about until that's all working nicely for you and you've got a nice little hole. There we go. You might have to work that a little bit. Work it from the front will give you a better finish. There we go. Now I've got a hole big enough now to pop a jump ring through. There we are, smashing. And I'm going to put one here as well in the centre. At this kind of thickness, it really is like working with leather. It's really nice. And to think it's made of paper, I think that's really quite a nice, unique selling point. I love it. Let's get my jump rings. I need nice big ones here. I can open this with my fingers. That's nice and soft. Fasten this jump ring just a bit to save it falling off. I don't want it fastened properly because I've got to get the chain on there yet. So I'll pop that on. Close that up just a little bit while I get onto the one down here. Now I think I can use a slightly smaller one for this. It's a little fiddly if you want to. You can hold it in your pliers if you find yourself all fingers and thumbs. This makes life a little simpler. There we go. Close this one up a little. Now, do I want to put this on a little chain? I think I do. Or do I want to put it on a head pin and have other beads on there? I think I want it on a chain. So I'll get a nice small, I'll get a smaller jump ring for this one. Open that up with that little tool. That's really handy. Pop that one on. Close it just a little bit to save it falling off while I'm preparing the chain. Now here's my chain. Now I have been deliberating on buying this for quite some time, and I finally gone ahead and done it. And this is 50 meters from Amazon. It's not that expensive, and I will have this for so long. And this is stainless steel chain, and I've made that decision. It's not as shiny as the silver plated bits and bobs, but it won't tarnish. And I like a particular type of acrylic jewellery, and it really gets on my nerves that I've worn this quite expensive piece of jewellery, designer jewellery, for a little while, and it's beautiful, but then the chain tarnishes. So using stainless steel chain is my go-to for this, but use what you have. It's all about using what you have as far as you're possibly able. And I've also got in here some lobster clasps, so I'll use one of those, and I've got some larger jump rings here in the stainless steel. That's going to be my connecting ring. Here's my beautiful chain. I'm so glad that I bought this. This is 2mm as well. There is a finer one at 1.5mm. This is the 2, and I'm glad I got this because it's not going to be too fiddly to work with those individual links. Now I need to just check how long I want this to be. So I'm off camera now, and I'm just going to wrap it around my neck and put it to about where I think it needs to be. And I think it needs to be about this long. Might be a bit long, that, but I can always cut it down further. And then my little jewellery pliers. I'll just go and snip that chain. Obviously, with it being stainless steel, it's harder than the soft silver plated brass or copper that you buy. There we are. And just thread this through. Fasten this jump ring. I can do this with my fingers because they're nice big ones. And there's one side of my butterfly shaping up nicely, and I need another piece of chain the same length. So there it is, there's my butterfly. And I wanted just a little piece of chain, just a short length of chain to connect my little faceted bead here. With the butterfly. That's not too long. I really like that. Could have it a little shorter perhaps. Yeah, I'll go just a little shorter. Put that on, close my jump ring, making sure I've got no gap there. And I'm twisting these jump rings around so that the opening is in the thicker part of whatever it is I'm doing. So there it is. That's my butterfly. I'm really pleased with it. I'm going to check it for length. I'm just going to check that these lengths are the same by holding the butterfly parallel, and I can see that they are, and my little fastening jump rings. So I'm going to use these little tiny jump rings in a pair of tweezers or a pair of pliers to pop this on, and then fasten that like that. This is my larger jump ring that's going to be my fastener. So I shall open it up. Always open up your jump rings if you're new to this. Open up your jump ring side to side, never open them that way. And fasten that. And we're nearly done with this one. I've got my last little jump ring here that I'm going to put my lobster claw onto. So I'll just fiddle about with this. It's a bit like threading a needle. And put my lobster claw on. Just bring those two edges back together. And there it is. There is my finished butterfly on its beautiful chain. I think that looks really, really good. And it'll make a great Christmas present. Great craft fair item. Look at that. So that's that one. So I've shown you now how to attach the chains. These kinds of ones have all got paper clips through them, so you can go ahead and attach a jump ring to each of those. If you're using cord, you'll need to attach a jump ring. Don't put your cord straight through the paper clip because it'll want to hang sideways. You need to have a jump ring on it so that your cord will lie in the right direction like that to make your pendant. And I'm really happy with that one. Strangely enough, this one is my favourite. It was my least favourite when I was making them, but now it's done, it's my favourite. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use my black for this. I've got, I ordered a bunch of different colours. I've got different colours of browns. I've got grey. This stuff comes in all sorts of different colours. I absolutely love it, but I've got all sorts of different grey, brown and grey tones. So that'll tie in with most of the things. And seeing as I'm making all of mine with black card, these dark vintagey mutedy colours suit me very, very well. So this is my cord. I'm going to make this one quite short. So I'm going to cut myself a piece that long. I've just measured it around my neck. I love using this stuff. So I've got my jump ring on. Nice sizable jump ring. Simply thread my cord through, and I get these crimp ends, and these are designed especially for this size of faux leather. You can get them in a little kit so that you get the ends, the lobster clasps, the jump rings and the cord in one nice little kit. So I'm just going to place that end there, get my flat nose scissors, my flat nose pliers. You can actually do this with a fingernail, and that folds, that's quite soft, that folds quite easily with a nail. I wouldn't like to do lots like that because it'll mess with your nails. But that really is not at all difficult to crimp down. I'll just make sure that's nicely secure like that. So there we are, and all I need to do again, same thing again, is put my jump rings, let's get a little stainless steel jump ring on this one, and my lobster clasps on there. I'll use my little opening tool, which is lovely. This came in the kit. I didn't know that these things existed. So I'll feed that through. We don't need that one again, so we'll close that one up. That's fine, that's our fastener. Another jump ring. I'll use a little tiny one this time. And pop that on there, and I pop my lobster clasp on at the same time. I could close that one by using my fingers, but it's getting very fiddly. Now you can order these things online, these little pliers, if you haven't got any little jewellery type pliers. But these I bought online, oh gosh, years and years ago, and they were quite expensive. These I picked up at a local craft shop, and they were literally a couple of pounds, and it came with a couple of pairs, and it's just like, that's a no-brainer for me. That was brilliant. And there we are, that's my pendant complete. I absolutely love that. So this one, I'm going to make a dangle out of a head pin, and that's got a flat head on it. I think that's 2 inches, a 2-inch head pin, that one. And this is an eye pin, that's got an eye in it. If you need to order any of these little bits and bobs, they're not very expensive. They're tiny little things, and they'll last you ages. So I've got some bead cups here that I already had in my stash. Just little ones. I'm going to pop one of those on the end. You don't have to use those, but they just make a nice little finish at the end there. I'm not going to pop one on there because it's the wrong shape, but I have got somewhere, it rolled away, a little spacer bead. So I'll pop that on as well. That looks really cute. I could just do that like that actually. Quite like that. Let's have a look what it looks like with the second bead on. And I can make my decision. So I've got another little bead cup going on the other way around this time, so it will fit nicely there. And then another one on the top. So my dangle is going to look like that. Do I feel that's too long? I do actually. I do. I think I'm going to just go with this. I quite like that. It's a little dangle. Yeah, I like that, not too much. Right, now that this is where you will need a piece of equipment, and it's the round nose pliers. So you need to, holding the bead down as far as it will go, just fold that over, and you can do this with your fingers, you can do it with another pair of pliers. Bring this piece right the way round over the round nose pliers and all the way round to there. And then when you get to there, snip this piece off using the little snipper that's inbuilt into most of these jewellery pliers. Just go as close as you can and snip that off. And then with your pair of pliers, bring this piece back around and kind of, if you can, get it inside that little bead, or as neatly as you possibly can. And I'll get a little jump ring now. Put that into my pliers because it's very small and fiddly. Pop that on, pop my bead on, and then close my jump ring. And that's my dangle. And then the necklace I will go ahead and make in exactly the same way as I made this one, but I'm using this nice mid-brown shade for this one. And there it is. That's my pendant. This was one of my least favourites as well as at first, and I really love this now. I can see me keeping this one and wearing this one. So that's that one done. Let's have a look now. My desk's a bit of a mess. Let's have a look now at these earrings. So these are my earring hangers. They're very standard, and I'm going to just open this with my pliers. And because this part will sit at 90 degrees to this part, we don't need to put a jump ring on. This is very simply a case of hooking the earring over. That's it, and that's as simple as that is, and that's done. If you want to, you could have a few beads on an eye pin with another eye at the top like that. That would be rather nice. You can use whatever shape you want, obviously, to make these out of. You could have them on a little piece of chain for that nice dangle. And there we are, that's my earrings complete, literally a couple of seconds. And I want the necklace obviously to be sympathetic with the earrings. Let's have a look. Do I want it on a chain or do I want it on a cord? I definitely want it on a cord. This is just personal preference for me now. I love this cord. Two beautiful little earrings and one pendant on this cord with the lobster clasp at the end. Now for this one, I want to go really quite chunky with it. I'm going to use 2 pieces. I'm just measuring that off around my neck. I think I want this one quite short, actually, more of a choker. So I'll cut these 2 pieces, pop them through my central section. These do have a name and I don't know what it is. There we are, I like that look a lot, but I like quite chunky jewellery. Like I say, you can go fine with the chain or with just 1 piece of this, and I do have a technique with a cord to show you in a moment. So I'll put these 2 pieces together. I wouldn't like to go any thicker and put 3, but that's worked fine. That's holding that nicely. And the same on the other side. Over. I'm using my pliers on this one just for ease. And if this seems fiddly to you at first, it doesn't take long to get a little bit of a technique going. And I'll pop my little jump ring through here. That's going to have my lobster clasp on it. I just want a bigger jump ring on this one for the fastener. And I'll use my little tool because it's really sweet. That makes such an easy job of that. And I'm always struggling and ruining my nails doing it this way. Good idea to check your lobster clasp works before you put it on, because they are mass produced and sometimes you get a dodgy one in there. So there we are. That's that one completed. So we know now how to do them with chain, how to do them with cord. I've made all of mine with cord, and this one I'm going to just show you something a little bit different. I don't particularly like this waxed cord that I've got here. I've got it in all sorts of different colours. It's too thin. I could put, I feel that it's too thin. You may feel differently. I could put 2 layers and I like that better already. But I just wanted to show you this technique of making a cord fastening. If you don't have any of this stuff, it's fine. You can still go ahead and make some really pleasing jewellery. Now this is a fastener that you can open and close, and I'll show you how to make this. You cross the 2 pieces over, the 2 end pieces, you've threaded it through, you cross your 2 end pieces over, holding this in your finger like this, but completely ignoring it. Make a knot as if this piece exists on its own. So you're just making a single knot like this, and you can go ahead and do that again. Wrap it round this piece that you're completely ignoring and just make a little knot, and you've got a double knot here that now slides up and down this piece. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Doesn't matter whereabouts you do it, this is the piece. So we're going to wrap it around this piece. Show you again. We're going to wrap it around this piece, tie a knot onto itself. There we are. And the same again. This is the piece that we're ignoring. We're just wrapping our cord around it like that, tying our knot. There we are. And then this piece now will slide over the piece that we ignored. So now we have this set up where we can slide to make the pendant shorter, and we can pull to make the pendant longer. So that way you can make it long enough to slip over your head, but then with these 2 parts you can then tighten it up, and that's that one completed as well. So these are my final 3, and I think I've demoed everything I wanted to demo really, with regard to how to assemble the jewellery. Now this one I've made extra special by adding some beads before adding the chain. The camera ran out of battery as I was doing that, so I haven't got that demoed, but it's very simply a case of, I'm just randomly going to choose some beads now, and grab my bead cups. You don't have to use these. I love the finish that it gives your beads. So pop one on, and if you just want to get one size, get a small sized one, and you can use bigger beads with them quite well. Let's get one here to show you. That works fine, and they also work with smaller beads, so just get the smaller ones if you need to, if you just want to buy one. So then we just layer up by popping on a bead cup to cup over that one in the opposite direction, and then your next chosen bead, I've just chosen these randomly, another bead cup to cup that one, another bead cup in the opposite direction to cup the next bead, and then your final bead cup if you're using bead cups. And then, oh, that's quite nice actually. I chose those randomly and I think it works quite well. Right, and just fold this over at the top here a little bit. Take your round nose pliers, you will need a tool for this, and then just tease this section around. It's a bit trickier when you've got a short end to work with, until it overlaps the other one. It can be opened out. Think about what those jump rings look like when you open them out. So you've kind of spiraled that round, and just snip that bit off the end. A little more there. And then grab this in your pliers and bring it round to close it, just like you'd close a jump ring. So that's it. And then once you've done that, put a jump ring on your little paper clip finding here. Attach that, another jump ring on your piece of chain, and the same on the other side, and then your fastenings at the end as usual. And this one I've gone a bit more to town with. I haven't put my cord through yet, but I've made 3 holes with my pokey tool, my brad awl, in here, and one at the top, and I've made that quite elaborate, and it's got 3 dangles, and I like that because that's going to make a noise as well, so I think I might put that on quite a long cord. So there we have it. I think I have finished, I'll fasten that, I think I have finished making all of my pieces and demoing everything that I needed to demo to enable you to pick them up, run with them and create your own amazing jewellery. So let's have a look at what I've got here. I've got my clock with the 3 dangles. That makes a little bit of a noise, I like that. And I've got this piece with this interesting way to attach the pendant there. I've got this piece that I showed you with this sliding knot to extend and contract the length of the cord. I've got this one here, which is my beautiful butterfly on 2 pieces of chain with this little dangle. This one here has got a single dangle on cord. You can see throughout that I really enjoy the cord approach to life. This is the first one I made, and I wear this one every day. I really like it. And I've got this one here, which is actually my favourite, and which was my least favourite when I was putting the pieces of paper together. And you can hear how rigid they all are. And I've got this one, which has the beads on either side. They look absolutely fabulous. And I think finally, oh no, not quite finally, I've got one more left. Finally, nearly finally, I've got my earring and pendant set. I've had so much fun making these. I just want to carry on, and I've got this final one to do something with. And so there are all my techniques for putting all of those together. I hope you have great fun with those. Finally, I think we'll just do one last little thing, and let's talk about presentation. So here's a strip of card. Yours might be completely different. You can use pattern card. You can do whatever you want. You could use the same patterns on this as you use to make these with, to make the pendants with, which would be really quite interesting. You can make folded cards. You can make single cards. I'm going to make a folded card for this one, which I really don't intend to give away because it's mine. And I'm just going to make 2 little snips on an angle like this. And then if I want to get a little bit more elaborate than that for a chain, this works fine. Yours doesn't have to be this shape, obviously. You can go in portrait position, and that would be really cool actually, because that would stand up on a desk nicely. I'll make one of those in a minute. You can just go through here like this, and then you can either pop these in a little bag, these ends in a little bag, and tape that on, or you can just put a little bit of tape at the back there to keep those hidden. Now obviously this is too long, this is just an example. You can go a step further by making a hole. If I turn that upside down, I'll be able to see what I'm doing. By making a hole at the end of your little snips, like this. Oops. And that will give you a little channel. Where's my favourite? That will give you a little channel to put your cord if you're using something thicker. There we are, that fits really well. So you can pop that in a little tiny bag and tape the bag to the back. And so there's your front there. That would stand up as a card. If you're making these for craft fairs, another beautiful way of going about the job would be to make these vertically. So take your piece of card, your designated size with your designated pattern on it, fold it in half, and now you're going to make your little snips. I'm going to keep them quite shallow here. Make your little snips through both pieces, and then if you want to, if you're using cord rather than chain, make your holes. Let's pick this one. You can pop that through both pieces, so you can just kind of roll and fold and gather this piece together, pop it in the little bag. I'll tape this on. So that will now stand up and it makes a really cool display. That works really, really well. So it's just a couple of ideas for you there as how you can display these beautiful things. So there we are. I've finished all my pieces of jewellery, nearly. I've got a couple of pieces to finish off. I've had so much fun with them. I've really, really enjoyed designing and bringing this project to you, and I hope you love it as much as I do. And if you're doing craft fairs, I hope this goes really well for you. If you're gift giving, I hope they're so well received. I think they're really special little things, and the fact that they're made of paper, I think, just makes them so special. They don't feel like they're made of paper at all. These thinner ones feel like they're tooled leather. The thicker ones feel like they could be some kind of wood or ceramic. You know, they're really substantial, sturdy things. I think they're absolutely delightful, and I hope you love making yours and it spurs you into all sorts of different creative directions. Have fun.